So welcome, Kavita. I welcome you yet again to City Book Leaders for this session on your new book, which is The Don't Diet Plan, a remarkable book published by Rupa. And I'm thankful to Rupa for getting this book to us as well. As it says, it's a no-nonsense guide to weight loss. And of course, there's a lot of sensitivity and the no-nonsense and the nonsense stuff that goes around food whenever we think. So much so that I was telling it to a colleague of mine a while ago. A couple of years ago, I was interviewing someone, and the boy who was actually expending every minute I was speaking to him. And I just asked, what's your hobby? Typically on a CV, a lot of time people do write, I love eating. He had written, I'm a big time foodie. And so I asked, and typically like a millennial, and that to someone like me whose hairline is receding, he said, can't you see I love food? and I'm still questioning myself that why is it so that for the love of the food has to hamper your own personal health. And most of the times that's what we assume. If someone is a foodie, need to be definitely in a ill-shaped structure, someone gains out of the weight. That's what you have been doing for ages now. For almost 25 years, you have been a health consultant. You have been a weight loss management expert. And I think that's exactly what reflects in all the 3 books that you have written. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all for this remarkable lecture that Kavita has agreed to convey to all the people who believe in good food, who believe in a good lifestyle, and that too a lifestyle that gives a lot of joy. This book is definitely a bedside book. I think this is the best time that this book could come to all of us, especially during the pandemic times when our schedules have changed. We have gone through a lot of mental anxiety. Food is something that is what we can consume as human beings, and also that's what we try to do at CBL. We try to bring the best thoughts that you can consume as your food for thought. So with this lovely combination, I would now introduce you to not only Kavita but to the book as well. As the back cover of the book says, Kavita Devgan is an acclaimed nutritionist with almost 25 years of experience as a weight loss and holistic health consultant. She offers practical, customized programs that deliver weight loss the right way through modification of habits to ensure long-term results. She's also a popular journalist and health columnist and has been writing regularly for premier media groups. While she's an excellent counselor, and I can vouch for it, her heart lies in propagating right information through her writing. A prolific and fated speaker, Kavita has been giving lectures and conducting workshops about the right way of eating and new research-based health trends for a long time now. Her previously published books are Don't Diet, 50 Habits of Thin People, Ultimate Grandmother Hacks, and most recently, Fix It with Food. And now her 4th book that we are talking today, there is the Don't Diet Plan by Kavita Devgan. That's Kavita to all of you. And Kavita, we eagerly wait for your lecture, especially on the Japanese lifestyle and sugar, which is so dear to all of us that we think that meetha nahi to kuch bhi nahi. But you have given the complete segregation of the fructose, the sucrose, what contains what, and also in a very, very simple way. And as I was mentioning to you, Kavita, also I started this book, which is not the first chapter, which is towards the end it comes, which is around sugar. And I picked up my chapter and I just fell in love with the book. And that's my recommendation to everyone. When you pick up this book, for which the link my colleague has already sent in the chat box, don't think that you will read it from cover to cover. Just pick up any chapter, and that might reflect to your own personal journey of what you eat. And I think more that will come from Kavita. Please, Kavita, take us through this lovely journey of the food and not being a finicky foodie.
Thank you, Mohit. Always such a pleasure to connect with you, and through you to all the people you connect together in this wonderful platform. Every time I do try to catch your sessions, not as often as I would love to though, but maybe I'll make a little more effort from now on. Thank you for calling me in. It's such a pleasure to connect with everyone virtually. Hopefully soon sometime we'll be able to do it, physically as well somewhere when things get better. Talking about that, and as Mohit also mentioned, the pandemic has been devastating. It has been, cruel on a lot many, in a lot many ways, I would like to say. It has affected people in different ways, economically, physically, mentally. But I personally feel that even though we've all suffered so much, lost so much, if there is one good thing, if I just have to pick, and I would like to do that, that has come out of this pandemic is the fact that the health, this focus has shifted squarely back on health. And I think that's a very good thing because we were reaching there, we were moving towards that, but at a snail's pace. People had started thinking about health even before the pandemic, but at a very, very mild snail pace. But this pandemic hastened that process. And now, even if people are not really extremely conscious about what they're eating, at least they're thinking a little bit more about what they're plating than what they were pre-pandemic. So that I think has been one positive outcome of this pandemic. We all have to we have to stay optimistic and keep looking at whatever good we can find from everything. So this is the good that I feel the pandemic has brought about. Talking of the negative, many people have gained a lot of weight. I know that because I deal with everyone, I consult on a daily basis. So I know the struggle people are going through today as far as their weight is concerned. Not their fault, really. The stresses were way too many. Movement had gone down. The emotional stress was way too much. And food, as we all know, has always been our go-to comfort, thing. And precisely, this is exactly what everyone did during the pandemic as well. Many of us ate without thinking, So all that led to work from home, of course, another factor. So movement went down there as well. So all this led to the piling up of the pounds. And since it's been such a long time, 2 years, many of us have put on a lot of weight. And in addition to that, now we have the festive season coming up. It's already started from, last month. And then, Rakhi is when it starts typically every year, and then comes Ganesh Chaturthi. And now, of course, we have Navratras, which are less of a fast and more of a feast now, unfortunately. Then, of course, Diwali, Dashera, and Christmas, and the whole year ends. And then, of course, the big New Year's party. So what I would really like to take this opportunity today to say is that this festive season, you can't let yourself go like every year thinking that we'll see next year. Many people I know are like, they just give up at this time and it's like fun and frolic, and we'll see later from 1st January, we'll diet. These 5 months are also very crucial because one, there's a lot of extra weight on everyone's body as it is these days because of the pandemic. And if you pile on more during the 6 months, I'm sorry, you'll be in deep trouble. Not just physically or appearance. I mean, that really doesn't matter. Anyone who's read my writing knows that I place zilch importance to the physical appearance or the weight that shows on the scale. What is far more important is the effect it's going to have on your health, the deep down health. And here I'm talking about weight as well. I've been talking about immunity nonstop since the pandemic started. So that's like 2 years now. So it's coming out of my ears, literally. But the one point I like to stress on, and which no one really talks about, is that you have to be near your optimum weight for your immunity to function efficiently, for your body to be able to fight off the invaders. If you are overweight, it's going to have a tough time. So for that reason alone, we are not really out of the blue yet. Who knows, the pandemic is over or the next one is not around the corner. So appearance is one factor. Looking good is another factor. Immaterial. Good if that's your motivator. But a bigger motivator in today's time, I feel, for you or everyone else around you to be near their optimum weight and shake off that extra weight you've already gained is to give your immunity a fighting chance. Because more the number of fat cells in the body, less efficient the immunity is. And that's a direct connect, scientifically proven. So if anyone here has been thinking that we'll think about our weight after the festive season, sorry to have spoiled your party, but this is a fact. So I think it will be good for you to start thinking a little bit about your weight as well at this point of time. And which is why, like as Mohit said, this book is perfectly timed because it will give you pointers. Telling you a little bit about the book, this is a natural progression from my first book, which came out in 2016, which was called The Don't Diet. And that book actually listed the habits of that I had observed over the years, which, naturally thin people followed. But this book, actually, I've been writing ever since, literally one chapter at a time. So whenever a strategy worked, I would put it down in the form of a chapter and, of course, keep revising it. And eventually, the whole book was ready to be printed this year. And somehow the timing is just perfect because it's going to help many more people at this point of time. So this one actually lists the strategies that work. And I explain why they work. And in simple terms, the to-do things. If I'm talking about protein, I'm also giving you a to-do to say that this is how you can actually make sure that you calculate the amount of protein that you're having in your body, whether it's enough or not, is the quality good enough or not, and these are the foods that can give it to you, and this is the diet plan or the meal structure that can ensure that you can get in enough protein. Similarly for sugar, everyone seems to be relating to different chapters I've seen. There are people who completely love the first chapter. Do not be fearful of food. Do not, fear food. Because that I feel is a big, which is why I started with that chapter. Our relationship with food is very fractured for most of us. Either we look at it as a comfort food, or we just look at it as sustenance, that you just have to eat. Hardly anyone actually looks at food for what it is supposed to be. You can't just consider food as something that gives you taste. Food is something that is going to give you nutrition. And as the pandemic, I'm again repeating, has taught us, nothing is more important than our health. Nothing, all the things we hanker out after, not important, as long as our health is not with us. So focus on health. So for that, focus on right foods is extremely, extremely important. And for that, focus on staying near our optimum weight comes without saying, becomes an absolutely essential part of the whole process. So this chapter, the sugar chapter, again explains very clearly why we need sugar. First of all, no one is asking you to stop eating sugar. I can't stop eating sugar myself personally. I feel I need it too. And I mean, my backing is from Ayurveda. Ayurveda says that meetha is a very, very important part of our diet. So no one is asking you to stop meetha, but you can always learn to choose your meetha right. Very important, especially with the festive season coming, when one rasgulla, when it becomes 5, nobody really knows. And that's where we go wrong. One rasgulla or one laddu will never harm anybody. With dessert, I have a very simple saying, if I can just add it here. What I like to teach all my clients as well is that whenever you're eating a meetha, the first bite is for taste. The second bite is for satisfaction. Third bite is for, stretching that satisfaction just a little bit more. Anything more than that is pure and simple greed. It's as simple as that. That's a very simple way to look at sugar or anything made with sugar. Because we do, unfortunately, consume way more than what we should. There is no denying that. Eating it in moderation, learning how to do portion control of meetha, choosing the right meetha over the wrong. Yes, I explained that as well. There are ways to choose desserts that can actually be good for you. So all that is explained in the chapter as well. So that probably can come in very handy during the festive season and not spoil the joy for you, as they say, during all the lovely festivals that are coming up. Then there are a lot of other chapters in there as well. There is one that talks about fiber, which is such an underrated nutrient, trust me, because we don't talk enough about it. We only keep talking about carbohydrates, sugar, fat. These are the only 3 buzzwords that everyone talks about, and calories, of course. But fiber, actually, if we stop thinking about all this and just start thinking about fiber and keep including fiber in our diet consciously, trust me, rest everything will get taken care of on its own. It's that important. So the concept of the whole book is to not try to remove foods from your diet. I've never believed in that. I've always believed in adding the right stuff, because there's only so much you can eat, right? There's only so much everyone can eat through the day. So obviously, if you instead of focusing on trying to remove this from the diet and getting frustrated and then just giving up, a better approach would be to keep adding the good, so the bad keeps getting cut off automatically. You try this out and see. And this is exactly how I practice. When my clients, they're surprised when they say that you don't cut off anything from the diet. I'm like, because I can't cut off anything from my own diet. So it comes from there. And that's what works in the long term. There are snapshots in the book, and that's my favorite. But I personally love these small little snapshots that I've put in, because I feel that they explain the philosophy that I personally believe in. And what I'm saying right now is mentioned in the snapshot number 6, which says stop sprinting. When you go on a diet, don't consider it as a sprint. It's actually a marathon with no finish line, really. It's a lifestyle change that you're trying to make, not just an attempt to reach a quick goal, say 5 kgs or 10 kgs off, and then stop. Because that, trust me, never happens. The weight will never be static. It's a process. It's going to be up and down all the time. And the process has to continue always. Always aim to make permanent change in the way you live and eat. So there are these snapshots in between, wherein I basically, these are not to-dos. These are like simple gyans, that the philosophy that I personally believe in and work on, and which is what all my writings are based on as well. Similarly, snapshot 7 says, watch your attitude and thoughts. This one is a real favorite with me, so I would love to read this for you. Watch your attitude and thoughts. Both affect the process immensely. You need to control your thoughts before they control you. Use affirmations instead of declarations. This is very important, because I have seen this work extensively. Use affirmations instead of declarations. For example, instead of saying, I'm going on a diet, which is a declaration, say instead this affirmation, which is, I'm going to eat better, healthier fruit from now on. Similarly, instead of declaring, I will stop eating wrong foods. Tell yourself, I'm going to eat 3 fruits and 3 vegetables every day. This is how you change your attitude, and this is how you change the whole process of how you look at the journey of weight loss. Why I say journey is because this is not a quick fix. It can never be a quick fix. Any diet that promises you quick results and sounds too good to be true is actually too good to be true. Take my word for it. It's only going to harm you, not give you any results eventually. So this is a journey. Steel yourself for it, but learn to enjoy it. The process has to be something that you can be with for a long period of time, so that it becomes you. It becomes a part of you. It's not something you close your eyes and do for a month. It's not going to work. Never going to work. So all this is there in the book. Of course, there are a lot of quizzes which will tell you whether your information is right or wrong, or where are you going right, where are you going wrong. It teaches you to read the labels right. There's a sugar quiz wherein you can figure out whether the amount of sugar you're eating is good enough, or are you eating way too much. Then there are diets, right? At the end, there's a Monday diet, of course, which is for, a bad weekend if you've had. The diet that you can follow on Monday, which can actually help you knock off some weight. And then there are a lot of diet hacks. Of course, there are big chapters in between, like don't obsess over the scale and engineer your environment, because I believe that's really, really important. Stop eating processed food. All these are there. And there are quick diet hacks, simple diet hacks that tell you this is what will work. Do this. So these are quick things to follow. And then one chapter I would love everyone to read really is this focus on the fullness factor. Let me just talk about this a little, because this is a very important thing. We all obsess over calories. There's a chapter on calories as well, good quality calories and bad quality calories, which tells you how to choose whether the calorie you're eating is good for you or not. Yes, there are good calories and bad calories. They're all different. But there is a factor called fullness factor that no one really talks about. We are all obsessed over calories and we're obsessed over carbohydrates and fats. And some people go a little step further and talk about the glycemic index of the food. But there's a better scale to figure out whether that food is going to be good for your weight loss process or not. And that scale is called the fullness factor, FF. It tells you where this food lies from 0 to 5 on the FF scale. 5 means that a particular food will keep you full for longer. So in that way, you can compare the different fruits as well, all the good foods as well, in terms of their fullness factor. So obviously, if a food keeps you full for longer, it's a win-win for weight loss. That's what we're looking for, to be able to eat less but stay full for longer, right? So this factor, I think this chapter can actually be, if someone really reads it carefully, can actually be a game changer for someone who wants to lose weight or maybe just maintain weight as well. And plus, it's a new thing for everyone, whoever is curious to learn. Do read up about this a bit. It's a very, very interesting section. Then there are a lot of other things as well. There is this chapter that about the Japanese way of life and chini come. So I'm trying to find that chapter and see if I can read up from that. Like, yes, that's chapter number 26, Staying Thin, Lessons from Japan. I went to this country ages back, but this country has not left me. It just hasn't left me because, of course, a lot of factors. It's a beautiful country, very, very efficient. Everything is so, it's just nice. Everything is done very well. They take everything seriously. They take their sewage plants seriously. Sewage plants are beautifully decorated. You will never be able to figure out there's a sewage plant there. So that was quite a shock coming from, a country like ours. But what impressed me the most, and I think I went there almost 7-8 years back, but that's one country I've been dying to go back to since, because their food, their culture, the way they look at food, the way they approach food is so different. It's amazing. It's actually very similar to our traditional rules, to be honest. But they are sticking to it today as well. And that, I think, is their biggest strength. I've been writing about it since then, wherever I get an opportunity. So I had to put a chapter in the book as well. And especially coming during this festive season, I feel that if we can follow these about 7-8 lessons that I've mentioned in the book, in this chapter, very simple lessons. If you can follow this during the festive season, you will really enjoy the season, plus at the same time, not really gain weight or harm your health. You'll be able to keep your blood sugar stable. You'll be able to enjoy. You won't have to cut the social outings, nothing. You'll have fun. So I personally feel that these lessons can, stand us in the festive, really good in the festive season, especially coming from now to the next 3 months. We all know that Japanese are considered to be incredibly healthy. They have the longest average lifespans, lowest rate of lifestyle diseases, and negligible obesity rate. And that I can vouch for. In my 6 days there, I probably might have seen one obese person. One. And none overweight, which is quite impressive. Now, answer lies in the way they treat and eat their food. Both treat as well as eat their food. They have long been models of healthy eating. It's about time we incorporated their wisdom and reap the same benefits. I feel that learning from whichever culture is a good idea. But of course, we need to adapt it to our way. You can't blindly follow anybody or any culture or any food cuisine, which is why what I've done is I've listed the rule that they follow, and then I've done a to replicate it to the Indian way of following it. For example, the first point is lots of soups and broths. What is bombing, super nutritious, delicious, and extremely low in calories? A soup, of course, and the Japanese know it. Very often, a big all-encompassing soup is a meal in a bowl with lots of vegetables, some seafood, and few noodles, everything contributing to make a sustaining, nutritious, and filling serving. Whether they eat their soup or slurp a clear broth, like the miso soup, almost all Japanese soups are low in calories. For example, their miso soup has some 50 calories, and soba soup has some 100 calories. Fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, they're high in nutrients and are very easily digestible. Plus, they add a lot of vegetables to their soups, right? And of course, they do seafoods. They add seafood to it. So how can we do it? How can we Indianize it? Simple. We can make soups as often as we can, whether it is a vegetable soup or a fish shorba or a tomato and spinach soup or a dal soup. All of them work. To make your bowl even better, just add one of these two, either garlic, onion, or ginger, because these are natural antibiotics and immunity boosters. And of course, put in some mushrooms as they promote the growth of white blood cells to make your body fighting fit. I'm mentioning this here because everyone wants to know about immunity today. And this is a quick fix, a very healthy hack to make sure that your immunity stays up, eating a little bit more of mushrooms than what we are eating now. So this is a very simple first step. The second is healthier cereals. We are a grain-eating country. We eat a lot of grains, but our obsession with wheat and with rice, overtakes everything up, every other grain. Japanese choose their grains very, very carefully. Most of them are gluten-free. Most of them are high fiber. So their grains have, like sticky. Their grains that they eat are sticky rice and then soba noodles. And they also keep the portion of the grain in the meal, in the thali, whatever they're eating, a little lower compared to us. For us, almost 3/4 of our plate is carbohydrate, the grain, and for them, it's probably just 1/4 of it, and that to a healthier grain. So I think that's a very good rule to pick from them. And we have so many healthy grains to choose from, so many millets. To do grain rotation is something that we can probably learn from them, and to choose to eat the grains less, little less. Eat in every meal. I'm not saying go off carbohydrates, but follow two rules. One, keep rotating your grains. And second, cut the quantity down. It should be about 1/4 to maximum 1/3 of your plate, not 3/4 as it is right now. Then, of course, there are other rules. I won't go into all of them. I'll just mention them quickly. One is they have green tea with every meal, which I think is a very good idea. You could incorporate green tea or warm water as well, because works on the similar lines. And then they take probiotics regularly. Again, in our traditional way of eating, there were always fermented foods incorporated in our diet. We've forgotten that today. When was the last time, I'm just asking you all, you had something that was fermented? We don't eat fermented foods enough, and those are natural probiotics. Japanese continue to eat them every single day, even today. So I think that is something that is common between our traditional way of eating and the Japanese way of eating. Getting this rule back will be wonderful, not just for our gut, but for our immunity as well, because we know that more than half of our immunity lies actually in our gut. So that is another rule that is a reminder of sorts. Then there are other rules as well. Okay, maybe I can read this one. Fewer desserts. The Japanese don't eat a lot of desserts. Often seasonal fruits like Fuji apples, tangerines are served after a meal, or maybe a small portion of pounded rice with a sweet bean paste topping. On special occasions, red bean and green tea desserts are relished. They do not have sugary desserts at all. If they do eat an ice cream, like the popular mochi ice cream, a bit of ice cream rolled inside a small round rice cake known as mochi, then the portion is very small. You will not believe it. One serving has just 50 calories. Tell me one Indian dessert that can actually match this feat. One. I'm going to give you my book for it. If you can mention one Indian dessert that can actually match this. What we can do is, a sweet tooth is ingrained in the Indian gene. So quitting sugar altogether is not the answer, but following their lead of having a sweet fruit, or maybe keeping the portion size half, So maybe like half a rasgulla instead of one, or maybe like one instead of three will be a good starting point. Opting for fruits like the Japanese do to satisfy sweet cravings is a good takeaway too. Just there's something I really want to add, because this is something that I have seen work. Whenever I have a client and that person has either of these two problems, one, a massive sweet tooth, wants a sweet after every meal. Yes, there are lots of people like that. Or has sweet cravings, way too many cravings through the day, mid meals. I do not ask them to just start cutting off everything or just start banning all these foods from the diet, because I've realized the moment I tell somebody no cake, that's all they can think of. So I do not take that approach. I have tried this with multiple people, and you could try this on yourself and see. And it is a no fail recipe. Just add 3 fruits to your diet on different times of the day, not together, not all 3 together. Do this for a week. Trust me, your meat craving will go down automatically. It won't go away completely. We don't even want that, right? But it will go down a lot. Plus, your in between cravings for wanting to munch on something for no reason, you're not hungry, you just want to munch, that will start going down drastically. Just try this out. It works without fail always, but you have to do this continuously for a week for you to actually see the result. And there are a lot of other bonuses as well. 3 fruits a day is going to make sure your immunity skyrockets. So do this, please, and then let me know how it goes with you. Then there are others. I'll quickly go through them. Less oil in cooking, or of course I'll vouch for that. Barely any oil in their cooking, and they eat with their eyes. This is very important. The food has to be pretty looking. It has to be. So by the time they finish with the food, they are so satisfied, because their mind is satisfied. And then last one is smaller portions. The portions are small always. Most Japanese stop eating before they are full. They keep being 80% full as the benchmark. And are taught from childhood the Japanese proverb, hara kachibu, which means eating till 80% full. For example, even their main staple, the rice, is served in a small tea bowl, which is called chawan, to keep the portions in control. This is the amount of rice that they get, so which they keep picking at in between while they're eating their vegetables and while they're eating their seafood. So that's how they treat their carbohydrate. Something that we have to learn from them. So we can easily make our portions small, practices, and soon it will become a part of your eating habit. So this is the chapter that I wanted to focus on today, because it's interesting, it's different, it's one of my favorite chapters as well. And I feel that there are a lot of takeaways from this chapter, like there are from lot many other chapters. So it'll be an interesting read, that much I can promise you. And of course, it'll add to your health and cut down on your weight. So that's all from me for now, Mohit.
Wow.
And we'll move on to the next segment. If there are any questions, I would love to take them.
While your book says the don't diet plan, I must say you're just given an appetizer to delve more into your book. This definitely was a very mesmerizing lecture, I must say, Kavita. And of course, when we think about lecture as a word, we go back into our college days when the lecture would happen and we all will sleep and we try to figure out a seat in the lecture theater. We can just hide ourselves, and that too after the lunch lectures are very difficult. And being a Sunday, I must say the breakfasts are as good as the lunch. But glad that there are so many questions that have come, and some very remarkable to the point questions that have come. I would especially like to mention about the quizzes that you have given in the book. They are very remarkable, and that makes you pick up your pen, do some exercises in the book, and quote your number as well. How much have you scored? Which will actually entice a lot of people who will order this book today, the link for which has been given, and also to gift it to others, so that it could be a good point of discussion amongst families as well. So imagine I'm actually planning it to send it to my nephews and nieces, and then start quick discussion, because every time I speak to them, they say, we are foodies, what are you eating? Is there a chola bhatura? Is there a aloo ki kachori this time being cooked at home? But I think we all need to be slightly conscious that this body is also a temple and we should respect it as much as we can do. I would also like to quote, there are a couple of very noted authors here today, and so much so we have some practitioners of the food. We have the authors of Chaturmasa Diaries who are here with us. We recently did a session, Kavita, with them on how this season itself has been given a lot of importance of what we eat. So that is what I will tell. And there are some very interesting questions. One definitely that Pratap would like to ask. Pratap, would you like to ask your question? It's a very interesting one, especially when it talks about the economy of the food. Pratap, you
Yeah,
unmuted. Please ask your
yeah.
question.
Uh, Good afternoon, ma'am, Kavita ji, and thank you, Mohit, for giving me opportunity to ask this question. The query which I want to really put up is, as you know, today's lifestyle is there's improper work-life balance. Though the company says, that we are trying to maintain a work-life balance, in reality, that's just for the HR to get recruit people. In reality, we are slogging ourselves right now, and right now the conditions are that a person has to work, approximately 18 hours to 19 hours, especially when you are in a construction site. I'm talking from a guy who is in a construction activity. And for this, because of virtue of which there is an effect that happens because of this improper work-life balance. So my query is there a diet plan which helps to mitigate the side effects of this work-life balance? I have to work at this point of time, given a lot of my efforts. I skip lunch. My breakfast is shabby. Improper eating habits. Eating wrong, street like food. As you say, street foods. Sometimes you cannot have dabba every time carrying away. So all this, if you really look at it, it's very nice to say that this is how calories you should maintain. This is but what about the people who are on the ground having a tough thing? Can you suggest something for us?
Absolutely. And I think a lot many people are in the same boat as you today. Everyone is going through this, even if a person is working from home. I mean, for you, of course, hats off to you, it's tougher because you're out on the street all the time because of the kind of work that you do. But even those who are sitting in front of their computer, working from home, are facing the same problem. I am told that, it's impossible to get up from the desk between meetings because there's no time. And there's no time sometimes to even eat or plan what you're going to eat. So both ways, it is causing a havoc with the health. And this is something that the companies are not realizing. The companies have to know the health of the employees. This is what I talk about whenever they call me for a lecture, the corporate call me for a lecture. Instead of trying to, even before I begin to tell the employees what to do, I can't help but tell the corporates first what they ought to be doing, frankly, to get the work-life balance of the people or their employees on track. The best thing to do is preparation. I mean, I talk about it in the book. I talk about it in all my books, in fact, frankly. I believe that you have to prepare. Your circumstance. It's not going to change. It's going to be the same next week as well. So taking out an hour or two every weekend, maybe to plan out the days, how they're going to be and how you're going to tackle the struggles and the challenges that you're going to face, whether it is in terms of less movement or excess movement, or whether it is in terms of the kind of food that you'll be able to eat, whether it is in the terms of whether or not you'll be able to carry food from home. So when you know your problems, you jot them down and then you jot down the solutions. There are answers in the book, but for that you will have, every person has a different circumstance. So you will have to read the book, understand the broad principles to follow, and then apply the ones that choose the ones that apply to your circumstance and find solutions accordingly. For example, if we take you in particular, you are out, you're going to be out. It's not suddenly it's going to happen that today you have to be out. That this is your work pattern and this is how your days, most of your days are going to be. You will have to plan your food for the day. You will have to make sure that you do not step out without a substantial breakfast. So for you, the breakfast will have to be the biggest meal probably of the day. You will have to make sure that you carry at least 2 fruits with you, a packet of nuts with you for those in between times, and 2 beverages with you which won't spoil in the heat. So something like, say, a Tetra Pak of buttermilk, maybe, if it can stay in your car if it has a small fridge there in the car, most cars have today, or you buy it in between at say about 11 o'clock or something, or the moment you spot a coconut water ready, you have a coconut water. So you ensure that you have 2 fruits, whether you carry them with you or you buy them on the way. You ensure that you have 2 beverages in the day so that there are no gaps. And secondly, you will have to prepare and organize for lunch. For some people, it might be possible to take it from home. I don't know if it is possible for you or not. Simple things like maybe, roti rolls work the best because they don't spoil, and, you can eat them even while you're driving so that you're not famished and you don't have to skip a meal if you can't stop somewhere. Or you have to for example, if you know that you're going to Gurgaon on a particular day, you have to plan where you can eat on that particular day, lunch on that day. So this will take as much preparation as probably what you're preparing for your work day, for your office. So it's very important to take time out and prepare your day's food plan. Dinner, I'm sure you'll be back home. So now your dinner again can be planned. That cannot be a problem. It's the morning hours that is the biggest problem. So for that, be prepared. Have stuff with you. I tell everyone it can always come back home. That pouch of nuts, if you didn't eat, it can always come back home. But it should be with you so that when you know that you were supposed to eat lunch at 1, but your lunch is probably getting delayed to 3, you at least pop in those nuts and maybe that Tetra pack of buttermilk, which you can buy actually from anywhere today, which will tide you for the next 2 to 3 hours. Do not skip meals. Skipping meals is actually worse than eating something wrong. It's something I tell everyone all the time. So be very careful. I think preparation is the only way, literally, to go about it.
Yeah, I think that's the only way, I guess, Kavita, you just mentioned, and since we both live in the same city, and if I have to go to Gurgaon any day, I ensure that I have my rolls with me. They're packed and they're in my laptop bag. So it really works. And our next question is from Ruchi. And that's about the attitude and also slight of a self-control when it comes to sugar. Sugar basically has always been the matter of craving, and of course in the modern world, it's been a reason of building a lot of large organizations as well. So there are a lot of corporate crimes attached to it. And so many people who have joined in today, I would actually recommend a book just to get clear on how sugar impacts our life as well as the global economies. There's a remarkable book by Gary Taubes, which is called A Case Against Sugar. And I think that will give a lot of insight of how sugar is so dangerous to all of us. And Ruchi's question is very pertinent to that, Kavita, and only you can answer. And I'm sure she will grab the book as well. She's a patron who reads a lot. She's asking, while she understands Ayurveda, believes eating sweet food is important. I'm quoting her, but I find myself not able to eat sugar in moderation. If I eat 1 spoon of dessert one day, I crave it the next day. So I just stick to fruits. Do we have to eat sugar? Of course, I think you no better person than you to answer that.
Ruchi, you're straight after my heart. So I'm a reader as well. So I connect with you. I also can't stay without books, and reading is my poison. I suppose it's for you as well, it seems. Coming to the other poison, sugar. The thing is that sugar, if you read the chapter as Mohit has read, I've explained that you can get sugar from many sources. Refined sugar is just one source of getting the sugar. There are so many other ways our body can get sugar. Everything we eat gets converted literally into sugar in the body. So the carbohydrate, the bread that you've eaten is also giving you sugar, The dal that you're eating is also giving you some amount of carbohydrate, which is getting converted into sugar. Fruits that you're eating are probably the best form of sugar that you can actually eat. Because one, it's a balanced sugar, it's a natural sugar, it's unrefined sugar, and it comes with a lot of fiber. So it doesn't spike the blood sugar. That's the whole point. The sugar that you're eating should not spike your blood sugar, because every time your blood sugar spikes in the body, it harms it a little. That's what we need to avoid. Otherwise, to be honest, people who do not really have a sugar diabetes issue can definitely eat some amount of meetha every day. There is no harm at all. But unfortunately, people like that are in minority today, and we have genetic history to think of as well. So it always helps to still keep sugar in moderation. So if you feel that eating fruits takes care of your cravings, there is absolutely no harm in continuing that path. And once a week, you can indulge. I mean, even why not? You can indulge in more than one bite of a dessert. I said 3 bites are perfectly okay every day. So you could collect the 3 bites and eat them together one day a week. So there is no harm at all in eating something meetha once in a while, as long as you can follow some discipline when it comes to sugar. But fruits are the best way to get in sugar in your body.
Fantastic. So, of course, this is also related to our own behavior, our own psychology. And Kavita, our next question is from a very erudite person who has joined us today. That's Umapatiji. He's asking, what is the connect between our overeating and psychology?
Big connect.
Because I'll go back when a question like this comes to me, I always go back to Sonal Kapoor's movie where when she was depressed, she actually picked up a bucket of ice cream and she was hogging it like anything. So I'm sure there is a connect to that, but you can answer it.
The movies have actually messed it up because what they've done is they've depicted this far so often that whenever a person is depressed or, there's been a breakup in the movie, if it's a rom-com, person has to eat ice cream.
Or drink.
Or drink. Yeah. Worse.
Or smoke or something.
Yeah. So the thing is, it doesn't really happen like that. Why it doesn't happen like that? Because it doesn't help. You need to understand that these are connects that we made over the years, not just because of movies alone, but also because of other factors. Even, for example, when we were younger also, if we were having a bad day, or if, maybe somebody got very bad marks in the class, and also Nanima used to make some kheer for you just to cheer you up, right? Because it was considered that the person will feel good after that. So you associate food, meetha, heavy fried food, with maybe sad times as with good times as well. So the fact is, things started going wrong when these homemade comfort foods were replaced with junk. When it was a katori of kheer would never harm anybody, literally. But when it turned into a tub of ice cream, for example, that's when the harm started happening. But coming to the question, the thing is, there is a scientific connect. Because when you are feeling low, when you are feeling depressed, and your body craves for carbohydrate, because the carbohydrate, when you eat, it gives you a sudden jolt of serotonin in the brain and you feel good. But that's a very temporary feel good. You will suddenly, after a little while, have a crash in the mood again. And then you will want to eat again. So it's like a bad cycle that you're starting. So the scientific connect is true to that extent. The psychology and the food connect between the high carbohydrate foods and the feel-good factor. But the more important thing is to understand that you cannot consider food as your crutch for changing your mood or for getting out of depression. Because let's face it, eating that burger is not going to take your boss off your back. Eating that whole tub of ice cream will not get your ex back in your life. Eating maybe a very aloo puri or a chola bhatura will not ensure that your child will get better marks in the boards if you're stressing over that. The food will not solve the problem. It will only help you tide over it, and that too for a very short period of time. So there is a scientific connect, but it's a very tenuous connect. So the moment person understands that and stops looking at food as a crutch, instead uses food as food, as a nutrition factor, and looks at other things, other ways to get over the depression or the low mood that the person is facing, which are actually more effective a lot of factors we know. For example, reading is one for me. Going off to sleep is another one for me. Meditation is for a lot of people, So those actually, for example, meditation actually increases the serotonin for a much longer period of time in the brain. Exercise does the same. Food does it for a very short period of time. That is the connect. It is there, but it is tenuous.
Fantastic. So I think while we are coming to the close of the session, there are two very interesting set of questions that have come for you. One is by our youngest patron. He is almost 87, but a former Mint editor, one of the most remarkable editors India has received. That's Arun Uncle to us from Bangalore. And in his typical style, he has asked, for a vegetarian, is animal protein needed? Is it a must?
No, definitely not. I am a non-vegetarian, so I keep a very balanced approach towards non-veg food. I do a 70-30. I do about 70% vegetarian, and I get 30% of my protein from non-vegetarian sources, because I'm a non-vegetarian. I've always been, so I don't have trouble eating non-vegetarian. But if you're a vegetarian, you can definitely meet your protein requirements, especially if you're a vegetarian and not vegan. That's different altogether. That's a different, topic, or to be discussed at a different point of time altogether, how to meet the protein requirements in vegans. But if you're a vegetarian and if you have dairy and if it works for you, you will never not have trouble meeting your protein requirements. You will have to keep a few things in mind, of course. You have to make sure that you eat, protein a little more consciously than, say, a non-vegetarian, because the quality can be a bit of a suspect. You might be missing out on certain essential amino acids, but all that can be covered with right combinations and right portions, and making sure that there is a protein source in every meal of the day. So there are 3 main meals. So there should be a protein source in every meal, and one high protein snack, which could even be a drink like, say, sattu or buttermilk or something. It's very easily manageable, but with conscious effort, of course. You mute.
How come session is happening online and we are not on mute? How come? That's what I was wondering. I did that trick again. But I think in one of your books, you actually mentioned that, I don't remember what book it was, but I think I read it last year. But you've given a specific chapter on the protein for vegetarians, which was around, yes, I think I'll find it out. I'll send the chapter to Anil and to Arun Uncle as well.
You could do that. I think it is probably Fix It With Food, maybe.
Yes, I think that was the last year. Fix It.
The book before this, yeah, Fix It With Food. That is that is where I tackle the food issues a little more minutely. Yeah.
So we have a lot of questions, but I'll take one more, and that too from someone who's an art curator. She's curated one of the largest galleries in Delhi. That's Meetu, and she's asking a question that I do understand that metabolism plays a big role as food. Are there certain foods that can help boost our metabolism? And I think that's a question for everyone. The answer will be beneficial to everyone. Kavita.
Yes. See, the metabolism, metabolism is simply a result of your body composition. So the higher the protein mass in your body and lower the fat percentage in the body, higher will be your metabolism. So that's an irony, literally, because if you already are thin and muscular, you probably have a better chance of staying thin and muscular. If you already have a higher percentage of fat in the body, you have a tendency to gain a little faster because your metabolism would be a little lower. There are a lot of ways to increase your metabolism. And again, it's a consistent effort, can't be done overnight, like nothing can be done overnight. One, you have to make sure that there is enough exercise happening, because you have to, it's like a daily dose of boosting to your metabolism. If you're exercising every day, it doesn't have to be very strenuous exercise, but movement, enough movement every day is very important to keep your metabolism up. For a simple thing like, sleeping burns least amount of calories, less amount of calories than sitting, and that burns less amount of calories than standing, and then standing burns lesser amount of calories than walking. Similarly, running, and then cardio, and that's how it works. And all of these keep increasing your metabolism as well on the side. Exercise is very, very important. Hydration is very important, often overlooked. If your body is dehydrated, your body's metabolism will also dip. So even if you have a high metabolism, but you are constantly dehydrated, then also your metabolism can dip. So water actually is a big metabolic booster. The third important thing, a balanced meal. When you go on a starvation diet, metabolism dips further from whatever you've started. So do not skip meals, which is why I tell everyone to follow a 3 meals pattern and 2 small snacks in between, which could even be just a fruit, but something in between, or a drink, And fourth, most importantly, protein, most important, and which is overlooked again a lot many times. We do not eat enough protein. Enough surveys have told us that Indians just don't eat enough protein. We don't get enough. Whether we are vegetarians or non-vegetarians, somehow we don't eat enough protein. Protein is required to keep your muscle mass stable. If you don't eat enough protein, every day you're degrading your muscle mass. And if you're eating enough protein and exercising along with it, your BMR will keep increasing. So eating enough protein, simple rule to follow, which is mentioned in the book, in the protein chapter in the book as well, is 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight every day. So if you're 60 kilos, target getting at least 60 grams of protein every day. So if you're 80 kilos, that is how it works. About 1 gram of protein, simple formula, every day per kg of your body weight is what you need to target. And of course, the chapter tells you how to go about it. Not everyone can really calculate how many grams of protein each food has. So it's a big bit of a task, but I've split it and I've put it in the chapter, in the protein chapter, how you can actually make sure that you get in enough protein. So these are the ways to increase your metabolism, and you need to work on it, definitely. Which is why, if I can explain a little, which is why men have higher metabolism, if you've noticed. They lose weight faster when they go on a weight loss diet, and women tend to lose weight lower because of the difference in the metabolism. The fat percentage of women is as it is high, the way the body is structured compared to men. So this plays a big role,
Perfect. So I think that brings us to the end of the session, Kavita. And I should say we crave for more for such tips so that we can have a lovely festival season. And not only just the season, but our lives as well. Food definitely plays a very important role, be it the food for thoughts or be it the food for our body. And with you being here, I think we just did the right amalgamation. We just created the right tadka today. And I'm glad that a lot of people could join in today, and also people will also benefit by buying the book and gifting the book to everyone. Yet again, thanks to everyone who could tune in yet again on a Sunday morning. I understand you might have a great breakfast and the lunch table might be looking too sumptuous, but you can be slightly mindful. But still, you can say the Don't Diet plan always works. Congratulations, Kavita, on this book. I wish you great success, and to the book and to the learnings to all of you. Thank you very much. Anything that you'd like to say, Kavita, to anyone who could join?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone who's joined. Such a pleasure. I really wish we could have done it one-to-one, face-to-face. It's so nice to meet lovely people who are on the same page, Very rarely you get to meet people who are on the same page in terms of thinking. But till that happens, I think this will have to suffice. So I've had a good time today, and I'm always open. My DM is open on all my social medias. Any questions, please, anytime. Or you can send them to Mohit. He'll pass them on to me. And do read the book, Flavor of Love, please. And like Mohit said, I think it's a wonderful gift to gift during the coming Diwali season. This Diwali, with the mithai laddu that you're giving, please also give this one book to everyone on top of it. And trust me, they'll thank you more for the book eventually, because they'll get down to the book after they finish the laddus and thank you then.
Yeah, before and after as well. Yes. Thank you very much, Kavita, and to everyone. Namaskar. Have a great time ahead. See you all.
Thank you so much.